You opened a checking account because it was free. No monthly fee, no minimum balance, nothing to sign except your name and a signature on a screen. That felt like a win, a bank giving you something for nothing, but banks don't give away anything for nothing. So where's the money actually coming from? Here's what happens the moment your paycheck lands in a free account, and why that word is doing a lot more work than you think. The bank doesn't just hold your money in a vault somewhere, waiting patiently for you to spend it. The second it lands, that money becomes something the bank can use. It gets lent out. It gets invested. It becomes the raw material for the bank's actual business, which is making money off money. You're not really the customer in this relationship. You're the supply chain. Think about it this way. A bank takes your deposit and pays you close to nothing for the privilege of holding it. Many standard checking accounts pay somewhere around 0.01% interest, which on $1,000 works out to about 10 cents a year. 10 cents. Less than a piece of candy from a gas station. Then that same bank turns around and lends a version of that money out through credit cards, auto loans, and mortgages, often charging 7, 10, sometimes over 20% interest, depending on the product and your credit profile. That gap between what they pay you and what they charge someone else is called the spread. It's the oldest trick in banking, and it's completely legal, and it's sitting quietly underneath every free account in the country. So the account isn't free. You're just not the one paying with a visible fee. You're paying with opportunity, with the interest you never earned, with the difference between what your money could have made you and what it actually did. Multiply 10 cents by every checking account holder at a large bank, and you start to see why free is a word banks can afford to hand out generously. It costs them almost nothing, and it buys them access to something enormous. But that's only half of the story, because most checking accounts don't stop at the invisible cost. There's a second layer, and this one shows up in dollars you can actually see if you know where to look. Let's talk about the fees that do exist, tucked into the fine print you skim past when you open the account. Overdraft fees are the biggest one. Spend $1 more than what's sitting in your account, and many banks will charge you somewhere around $35 for the mistake. Not 35%. $35 flat, whether you overspent by $1 or 100. That fee exists because overdraft charges have historically generated billions of dollars in annual revenue across the banking industry in the United States. Billions, largely from people who were short by pocket change, not by anything close to the size of the fee itself. Ever wonder why some accounts used to process your largest transaction first, even if it wasn't the first purchase you made that day? That's not an accident. Reordering transactions so the biggest one clears before the smaller ones can turn a single oversight into 3 or 4 separate overdrafts instead of one. This was once a common and heavily criticized practice. Some banks have scaled it back after lawsuits, regulatory pressure, and public backlash. Others quietly still do versions of it, just less aggressively than a decade ago. Then there's the monthly maintenance fee, which the word free is supposed to protect you from, except it doesn't, not really. Most free checking accounts waive that fee only if you meet a specific condition. Maybe that's a minimum daily balance, often somewhere between $500 and $1,500 depending on the bank. Maybe it's a certain number of direct deposits landing each month. Miss the condition even once, and the fee that was never actually gone reappears, often somewhere in the $10 to $15 range. You didn't break a rule you knew you were playing by. You just weren't told the rules clearly enough to notice you were playing at all. Here's a question worth sitting with for a second. If checking accounts are free, why do banks compete so aggressively to get you to open one? Why the bonuses? Why the ads? Why the constant push to switch your direct deposit over? Because the checking account isn't the product, it's the doorway. Once your paycheck lands in that account, the bank has a direct line into your financial life. They know your income, down to the dollar and the date it arrives. They know your spending patterns, what you buy, when you buy it, and how close to broke you get before the next check comes in. That data becomes the foundation for the next sale. A credit card offer that shows up right when you're stressed about money. A "you're pre-approved" notification, timed almost perfectly to a low balance week. An overdraft protection add-on, sold to you as a safety net. That itself often comes with its own fee structure layered on top of the very problem it claims to solve. None of this is guesswork on the bank's end. It's modeling. Your transaction history becomes a pattern, and that pattern gets scored, segmented, and used to decide which offer lands in your inbox and when. A person who overdrafts twice a year looks like a low-risk customer for a small line of credit. A person who overdrafts 8 times a year looks like a customer worth flagging for a financial wellness call, which sometimes doubles as a soft pitch for yet another product. Either way, the bank isn't guessing about your situation. It's reading it in real time, off the very account it told you was free to open. The free checking account is the bait. The rest of your financial life is the hook. And direct deposit is the leash. Banks want your paycheck landing automatically because a steady, predictable inflow of money is what makes all of this work. It's why some accounts specifically waive fees in exchange for direct deposit and nothing else. That's not generosity. That's the bank securing its own supply of the raw material it needs, which is your money, moving through its system on a schedule it can plan around and lend against. None of this makes the bank evil. It makes the bank a business. And businesses build products around what makes them money, not around what's most transparent to the customer. The free checking account is a genuinely useful, genuinely low-cost product. It's also a quietly profitable one, just not in the way most people expect when they hear the word free. So let's zoom out for a second, because there's a bigger pattern underneath all of this, and it explains more than just checking accounts. Almost every free financial product works the same way. It's free at the surface and profitable underneath in a place you're not naturally looking. A free investing app makes money by selling your order flow to trading firms. A free budgeting app makes money by recommending financial products that pay at a referral fee when you sign up. A free rewards credit card makes money on the interest of everyone who doesn't pay their balance in full, which funds the cash back of everyone who does. Free almost never means the cost disappeared. It usually just means the cost moved somewhere quieter, somewhere you'd have to go looking for it to actually see it. Which brings us back to your checking account and what you can actually do with all of this. Start by reading your account like it's a contract, because legally it is one. Somewhere in the terms and conditions, usually in a page you've never opened, is the exact condition that waives your monthly fee. Check whether you're actually meeting it every single month, not just the month you open the account, when a banker walked you through the requirements in person. Look at what the account pays you in interest and compare it to what a high-yield savings account pays for holding money you're not actively spending. As of the past couple of years, many high-yield savings accounts have paid somewhere in the 4 to 5% range, compared to the 0.01% sitting in a typical checking account. On a few $1,000s of average balance, that difference adds up to real money over a year, not pocket change. Look at the overdraft policy specifically, because that's where the real visible cost usually lives, not in a monthly maintenance line you can spot in 30 seconds. Some banks now offer a grace period or a small buffer before charging anything. Others still charge the same flat fee they always have. That single policy difference can be worth more to you than any sign-up bonus the bank offers to get your attention in the first place. There's one more piece worth understanding, because it changes how you see every bank ad you'll ever scroll past again. Banks don't just profit from your checking account in isolation. They profit from bundling it. Open a checking account, and within weeks you'll likely see an offer for a savings account, a credit card, maybe a personal line of credit, all from the same institution. Banks call this a relationship. What they mean is cross-selling, and it works because trust transfers. If you already trust them enough to hold your paycheck, you're statistically far more likely to say yes to the next product they offer, even if a completely unaffiliated company down the street offers better terms. This is why the checking account matters so much to a bank's bottom line. Even though the account itself barely makes them anything directly, it's not the destination. It's the entry point into a much longer relationship, one designed to have you holding 3, 4, sometimes 5 different products with the same institution over the years. And here's the part that rarely gets said out loud. None of this requires you to be careless or financially uninformed. Plenty of people who are genuinely careful with money still end up in exactly this position, simply because the system was built to make the free option And the profitable for the bank option, the exact same option. You didn't fail to notice a trick. The trick was built to be unnoticeable. None of this requires blowing up your entire financial life overnight. It doesn't mean closing your account tomorrow or distrusting every bank you've ever used. It just requires you to stop assuming the word free means without cost to you. It rarely does. It usually just means the cost was designed to be easy to miss. You opened a checking account because it was free. Turns out it never was. You were just never handed the bill.